Hey everyone, welcome back to Food, Wine, and Whiskey. I am Rob, your host, and this is your intro into this episode, which is a conversation on coffee. Carter finds coffee and wants to start making home brews and pour-overs and immersion brewers, what he needs, kind of understanding coffee, what to look for. That's the conversation today. We hope you enjoy it. And without further ado, let's jump into the conversation. Welcome back to Food, Wine, and Whiskey. Carter here today. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Fun episode. New things happening at Food, Wine, and Whiskey. We're going to take the show and start applying some cameras to what we're doing and put it on YouTube as well as our normal podcast.
You can see our beautiful faces now.
Yeah, well, one of us.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
So this ought to be a good time. But today's topic, Carter, you want to get into coffee. I mean, you're already a coffee guy. Tell everybody where you are in coffee.
Well, I mean, I can't say that I'm like super advanced at it or anything like that, but I can say that, I drink a couple of cups of coffee a day. I used to be actually one of my part-time jobs in high school was I was a
you're going to make this comment and set the standard pretty high.
Yeah. So I was a barista at a place it was actually a store that sold books called Books A Million. I think they still have them in Florida, and
they have them here.
Okay, cool. So I used to work at Joe Muggs as a part-time job, and so I guess I have some experience using some coffee equipment and things like that.
Did you have a clue what you were doing, or did you just get kind of instructions from the trainer?
I just got basic instructions, didn't really...
Put this in, hit this button, comes out, pour water, you're done.
Not so much, it's like, here's the grind size we use, here's what we do, that's kind of it. So I can't say that I'm an expert, but I did make a lot of coffees for people.
Okay.
So there was that. But, these days, I guess my number one thing with coffee is... I enjoy it. I can pick up some nuances from different roasts and things like that. And just kind of want to know a little bit more about it and how to start getting into that.
Making it at home.
Yeah, and becoming finding another avenue for my extreme hobbyist nature.
Yeah, you don't have enough of those.
Yeah, right.
Coffee fits the bill because you get into it and it's a rabbit hole. I mean, I got into it, I guess, a little over 2 years ago with Tyler Martin.
Okay.
And we did a fun show. And this won't be to that degree. We're not going to do a cupping or anything. We're just going to talk coffee.
Okay.
Kind of see where you're at. I did pour us a cup. So
well, this is my first cup of coffee today.
Same, both of us.
So hopefully many more. Because I could use a little pick me up because we had a little brunch earlier and it was.
That's a little tease for another show.
Yeah. But the stomach's ready for coffee, I guess is what I'm saying. So I don't know if I picked the right coffee or picked the wrong coffee, but I picked a coffee that you had me to choose from.
Several bags. You picked one of the bags I have, so I'm pretty sure it's going to be all right.
Okay, excellent.
So let's start with, you said you have a couple cups of coffee a day. Is this at home? Or are you I'm driving by a coffee shop to get my coffee?
Home or coffee shops? So we have a Nespresso machine at home. I don't know if those are good or bad, but I know some Italian people that are friends of mine. They say that's the way to go.
Are they coffee folks, though? I mean, just because they're Italian and say that's the way to go, if they're not making coffee like a true Italian, I don't know how much credit
I don't know how expert they are at it, but I know that they consume lots of coffee.
This isn't Alicia or
No,
Alicia.
No. It's not Alicia. It's actually some former coworkers of mine. So anyway, they said the Nespresso machine was kind of the closest thing that you could get as one of those pod-based things.
I've heard the same thing. I've never had a coffee from the Nespresso, but I've heard that, to your point, the pod kind of coffee, that's the best. And obviously the one that's the most famous is the worst.
Yeah. The Keurig, right?
The Keurig, yeah. The absolute worst.
It's really bad. That coffee's horrible.
So how do you like this on the nose?
On the nose, very pleasant.
Sounds like we have a whiskey or a wine.
Yeah, what do you like on the nose on this coffee?
That's what I say. These all go together with what we do.
It smells like coffee.
It does. Well, that's kind of like what people say when they get in the whiskey. Well, it smells like whiskey.
Yeah.
It smells like wine.
I mean, I guess it's got a nice little, like, it doesn't come across as, like, super
bitter or anything.
Yeah, or like really big notes punching out at me
Yeah.
or anything like that. Got a nice little nutty quality on the nose from what I'm getting there.
Yeah.
But very pleasant. I just had a few sips. It's really nice to drink. And
It's not too hot for you still?
no.
Oh man, okay. You would like my wife; she can take it hot.
Dude, you oughta see how I wash dishes. I'll just put my hands in burning hot water. And Yana's like, my wife is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
Sanders the same way. She takes a shower. I mean, it's like a sauna in there. It's so steamy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy cow!
Because we're born from fire signs.
I guess.
Leos.
So yeah, that's true. I forgot you were both Leos.
Yeah, you hang around us long enough, you'll remember.
So Nespresso is what you use at home. So
Yeah.
coffee equipment, not a whole bunch. So do you have a coffee maker, coffee pot that if you have family come in, your mom and dad,
No, I just used an espresso.
let me make
for
4 of
everything.
them,
Yeah.
four pods, and off we go.
That's it.
Okay.
Now you have there are different roasts that you can get and different things for the
Yeah.
espresso. It actually came with a neat little. I actually think it's kind of cool. It's a neat little milk frother. And it kind of is a standalone kind of cylindrical thing. So
Is it a zzz and you froth the milk that way?
you just put the milk in there, you close the lid, and you hit a button, and it kind of
Okay.
spins it around, I guess.
I was thinking like the one hanging back there.
Oh no,
That's for
not
cold
like,
milk frothing. Yeah, okay.
Not like that.
Okay.
But this actually puts heat on that milk too. So,
Okay.
So I don't know. It's like kind of got like a disc that the cylinder sits on, and then you just hit the button, and boom.
So that makes me ask the question: do you put milk in every coffee you have?
No, not at all. I generally drink it black.
Okay, now we're on the same page.
So
Nothing wrong with milk coffees, but what we're going to talk about today is to start the kind of doing a pour over at home, or immersion or pour over. I would
okay.
say.
So what's the difference between immersion and pour over?
Okay, we're going to get into that.
Okay. Cool.
Let's start with: do you have any idea of what you need, or are we starting from the ground up with what you need?
Ground up. I mean, I kind of have an idea of what you need.
Okay.
You need a grinder.
Bingo. That's the number one most important thing you need is a grinder.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you're going to need some vessel of some kind to pour it into, like with a coffee filter. I would think. What is that called? Like
Okay, so you're I think you're talking about a brewer.
a brewer. Yeah.
Yeah, how you're going to brew the coffee. You're going to put the coffee in this
Yeah.
brewer.
Yeah.
And then pour it over it. Okay, so you're going to need a brewer.
Yep.
You need a grinder.
Right.
You're going to need a scale.
Oh yeah. There's
See,
that.
people
I do
forget
have that piece of equipment for cooking. So I mean,
That could work. Does it have a timer?
it does.
Perfect. You're good to go.
Okay. Yeah. So I've got the one piece.
And then you're going to need a kettle. When we talked about the pouring over.
Okay. Yeah. Makes sense.
And my suggestion, my recommendation would be a gooseneck kettle.
Yeah,
It
those
lets
look
you-
cooler.
Well, and they control the flow and,
Okay.
and the rate at which you're pouring the water. Because as geeky as it sounds, and you're kind of a chemistry guy,
Yeah.
it all matters to what you get in the cup.
Okay.
How fast you pour, how slow you pour, how hot is the water. All of this we're going to get into, and it matters.
So, I mean, water quality is that important as well?
Very important. I probably don't do what if a lot of coffee people knew how I did my water, they'd probably give me the shaking the finger at me or
Yeah.
something. I do use filtered water.
Okay.
But my filtered water isn't distilled water like from the grocery store. Like they do recommend that you use that, or there's some companies out there now
Yeah.
that can. But I get it from the filter in my refrigerator, so I fill it up with that.
Okay.
I don't use tap water because there's too much iron and other minerals in there that it can hurt. One, an espresso machine. We're not going to get into an espresso, but two, you're still going to find no matter what water you use, you're still going to find that you're going to want to clean out your kettle at a certain point. and
Okay.
things because it gets that calcium buildup in the bottom.
Okay. That makes sense.
So kettle, scale, grinder, brewer. You're definitely going to need coffee.
well, I would assume that. Yeah.
So, but very, very important where you get that coffee. and what kind of coffee.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get.
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you will talk about that, but different regions, different places.
Oh,
you
that's
know.
what makes it fun. It's kind of like wine, right?
Yeah.
You go to different places. And now, beans coming from a certain place, a certain region, certain area, quality is what you're kind of looking for there. You're going to talk about quality.
Okay.
The roaster, how they roast those beans
Okay.
is kind of what's going to give you what you get in the glass.
Yes.
Kind of when you think about bourbon,
Right.
The char on the barrel, how long, barrel contact, weather.
I would
That's why I
think.
say there's a lot of parallels here.
Yeah, sure,
Yeah.
for sure. Well, I would think the longer you roast it, the different qualities come out.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Okay, cool.
Let's talk about the first thing, which we said was grinder.
Okay.
Most important thing. Investing in a good grinder is the most important thing to having good coffee.
Okay.
The investment can be as little as, let's just round it up and call it $100.
Okay.
You can get them a little bit less than that, but let's just call it $100. And of course, sky's the limit. Where I think you need to be to have a good grinder, if you went, well, let's say this. I say $100 and I say sky's the limit because we're talking about a hand grinder, and then we're talking about potentially a machine grinder, which I have a couple machine grinders, one for espresso, one for pour over, and then you can go a hand grinder. And hand grinders are less expensive, but they do a fantastic job.
Okay.
So, one, I don't know that there's a hand grinder. I don't want to misspeak. But I'm pretty sure every hand grinder is a conical burr. So you have two different kinds of burrs and grinders.
Okay.
Conical burrs, which you think about that conical kind of look.
Yeah.
And then you think about flat burrs.
Okay.
And how that looks. And then those are the two different types of burrs. I would say it's probably 60-40, 65-35 that most coffee geeks think flat burrs are better than conical burrs.
Okay.
I don't know if that's 100% true. I've had both. I still have both. I think there's just different things that come from each one. I wouldn't say one's better than the other. Some might be cleaner, some might be sweeter. I mean, it's just what you get from each type of burr.
Gotcha.
To say one is absolutely better than the other, sometimes I just like different profiles. It's just fun to kind of explore.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's a reason they produce both. I mean, is one more expensive than the other, or?
I think it used to be that way. That flat burrs used to be thought to be more expensive. Tyler Martin can correct me, but I'm pretty sure that used to be the case. Not anymore. I think they're pretty close. The conical burr that is the most popular, is thought of as being very high end for a pretty reasonable cost, is the Niche, which comes out of England.
Okay.
And the Niche Zero, and the zero means there's no, what do they call it when you leave residual coffee left in the grinder?
Okay.
Everything you put in 20 grams, you get 20 grams out.
Oh, okay.
And so that's
cool.
That's very important in coffee.
All right.
That happens. So, so that's your first choice, is deciding, do I want a machine grinder or do I want a hand grinder?
Okay.
Hand's going to be less expensive. Like I said, you can get a good one. They can get expensive too, though.
I bet.
I mean, I've got the K-Max from 1Z Presso that's like $250.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, for a hand grinder.
That's a lot of money for a grinder.
For a grinder.
I thought it was like an app for
No. But it's badass little grinder, and it's portable. Obviously, a hand grinder you can take anywhere you go.
Yeah.
So we go to Hill Country, going to have good coffee.
Well, yeah, sure.
I have two other hand grinders. I have the JX from 1Z Presso, and the Q2 from 1Z Presso. So I've got three different hand grinders, all different.
Is there some? Okay, so I mean, you say you've got machine grinders, hand grinders. I mean, do coffee nerds go, yeah, man, a machine grinder? I mean, I don't know, man.
No, do you think? Are you asking if they lean more to the? No, I don't think so.
Okay,
because what they ultimately want is good coffee.
Yeah,
good coffee in the cup, and if there's and then workflow.
Yeah.
Sometimes at home in the morning, especially if you get to a point in life where you are, with kids trying to get out the door, to sit there and do this. Trying to crank a hand grinder.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That takes a little while. Where you saw me put 30 grams in the O2, hit the button, and in like 8 seconds, it's all ground. Dump it in, pour, and done.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah. So they have their place.
They definitely have their place. Now, there is something, on a weekend, there's times I don't want to use the machine grinder. I'm like, I'm just feeling a little nostalgic. I just want to, do it the old way and just grind it myself. There's something to pouring the beans in and doing the grind and getting the aroma that comes out and dumping it. And it's just, it's therapeutic to some degree for me to do that. So, but traveling, having a hand grinder at some point, I think is important if you're going to get serious about coffee, because I think once you get serious, Carter, you're going to find that going on a trip, hotel coffee's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
Starbucks coffee's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
And looking for a coffee shop, a quality coffee shop in a town that maybe you're not familiar with. It's not going to cut it.
Yeah.
So there are some great options for being able to make coffee on the road very easily, and you make fantastic coffee.
Okay. That's good to know, because that is something I do. I travel a pretty good bit. Okay. I guess we are kind of blessed in the, being based out of the Houston area. We've got a lot of coffee shops, and if you want a good cup of coffee, there's some places you can go to get one.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially in your neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. I see you've got Lucy Coffee Roasters.
Never been there.
So, yeah, there's one right down the road from us.
Yeah, so they H-E-B remodeled out here, the grocery store, and they put a coffee shop in, and it's this one.
Oh,
so
wow.
It's all their beans, all their coffee brewers, and not theirs, but, their store, and, pretty cool little spot. So when I go grocery shopping, I'll stop in there and see what beans they got and go, sweet.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
But that's
so. Have you thought about Grindr at all? Have you been looking at, like, let's just say YouTube or anything, looking at coffee?
Yeah, I've looked at a little bit. I saw the hand grinders, mechanical grinders, all that kind of stuff. But do I know what to get? I mean, people have different recommendations. I mean, if you watch any YouTubes,
that's your biggest investment.
Yeah,
and I would say there's a Time War C2 at some point, not right out of the chute unless you want to go baller, and you've been known to go baller.
I've jumped all in before.
There's a Time War C2, which is a quality little hand grinder.
Okay.
Are you ever thinking you're going to see? Here's something you have to think about with grinding. What kind of coffee are you going to make?
Probably more pour overs than anything.
So if you ever went to an espresso machine, then you need a grinder that can grind fine enough to make espresso.
Yeah.
If you're like, look, that's way down the road, it's not even in my my mind right now, then you don't have to worry about it. You can just say, I'm going to get a solid pour.
So what you're saying is these grinders can do, some of them can just do for...
Well, like I have the Ode 2, the Fellow Ode 2 grinder.
Okay.
It is thought to be the very best pour-over grinder.
Okay.
For pour-over coffee. It doesn't do espresso. It doesn't get fine enough. It can't get fine enough to do espresso coffee. Yeah. So
do they make grinders? Obviously they do, right?
Well, Fellow hasn't. Well, they just released a new one, and I forget the name of it. It's not very expensive, but it's said to be able to do espresso coffee.
Okay.
So, and I think it's like $200. This one's like $300.
Wow.
$350.
So the grinder is definitely
that's your biggest investment.
Okay.
Because then a lot of people get into the coffee go, oh man, I need a good brewer, because the brewer is gonna that's what makes the coffee. Yeah. Well, my favorite brewer, $10 on Amazon.
Okay.
But the coffee's good because it's the way you grind the coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So okay, can we start from the? Okay, I've got the basic equipment now.
Scale,
the scale, the brewer, the grinder, the kettle.
Man, I like that. You got all this.
Yeah. I've got kind of the basic steps. Now I want to go get the coffee.
Okay.
So, tell me about coffee and shelf life a little bit, because that's something that I've heard. Once you buy that fresh roasted bag of coffee, you've got a finite amount of time that you've got to consume this thing.
Well, and I would say yes and no. Yes, if you want it at its maximum, at its highest flavor kind of producing coffee, know that if you had that 2 months later, is it going to be bad? No, not at all. It might have, like anything, oxygen gets into it. And, but that's the whole reason you have whole bean and grind at home, because the more, we think about it in wine or whiskey, the more oxygen surface that you can let touch it, it's going to start to, oxygen's bad, right? Oxygen's bad for wine and all these other things. Same with coffee.
So once you grind it,
Yeah, it's the whole, like an apple. You take one bite out of it, set it down, you see the oxygen, it's open.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So same thing with coffee. You want to get whole beans, not ground beans, will last a lot longer with a better level of flavor and freshness to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's where, and the funny thing, getting back to grinding is, what makes it fun too is when you buy coffee at a store, one, it's not freshly roasted. And you mentioned, freshly roasted. That's key. Making sure we talk about that coffee needs to be something when you buy it, if you're doing it at home for quality coffee, it needs to be freshly roasted.
Yeah.
It just does.
Yeah.
If it's going to be any good. But the other thing that does for you, in my opinion, is it allows you to play with the coffee. Because if you buy a coffee at even a premium coffee shop, because some of them will do it where they'll go, do you want us to grind that for you? And they'll go, yes. Well, now that whole bag is ground at whatever, and you're done.
Yeah.
Where I can come here and go, okay, I'm going to tweak it a little bit more coarse, a little bit finer.
Right.
Get a little more sweetness, get a little bit more clarity. You can play with that coffee and kind of what we call dialing it in to get it to a profile. You go, that's where I like that coffee.
Okay. Gotcha.
So,
gotcha.
That's another big reason to grind at home with whole beans.
Okay. So, all right. So we talked about, that a little bit. So what when you're going out to get a coffee, like what do you, are there certain areas that you look at that you go, man, that's a great growing
to buy a
region?
Coffee? No, well, if you're going to buy from a place that's roasting, more often than not, they're only going to carry beans from places that are thought to be good beans.
Okay.
You're not going to see like Vietnamese coffee in a roasting house or a nice coffee shop. Because even though they produce a lot, it's not quality.
Okay. I didn't even know that.
Oh, yeah. They're a very big producer of coffee, but not a very high quality of what they produce. So
now is there certain attributes, kind of like wine, areas, terroir, like things like that,
Oh, I definitely think that, that plays a part in the coffee. And to ask me to say, to get into that deeply, I can't.
Okay.
I just know that that makes a difference, as well as, you think about, again, getting back to the master distiller or the winemaker, how they roast the coffee.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing to talk about when we get there. But the beans, just to rattle off a few, and again, when you go into a coffee shop that's roasting their own coffee, anything you see on the shelf is going to be from a region that's quality. And what you're going to do is look at the roast level, the roast date.
Okay.
And you're going to look at the profile to see what you think. Does that line up with what you think you would like?
Yeah.
And you go from there. But most places are like, Costa Rica's popular. Mm-hmm. Colombia still makes good coffee. El Salvador makes really good coffee. Guatemala makes good coffee. Mexico makes fantastic coffee. And then you get over to, like Yemen, and you can get into Papua New Guinea. You can get into the Congo.
Okay.
So you can get into a lot of other places in Africa, that make really good coffee. So
like Hawaii, I've heard,
Kona.
Kona,
is a region that makes pretty good coffee. I've had some Kona coffee, and it's good, solid. Yeah.
Okay.
Can get a little pricier.
Yeah.
It's an American, thing. And
well, you think about, the we talk about it with New World wines. The property value is a lot higher.
Yeah, and you're talking Hawaii.
Yeah, yeah, really high property value.
Acreage there isn't cheap, I'm sure.
No. But anyway, okay, cool. So,
but let me ask you this about coffee. Do you know what it is, the coffee bean?
Yeah, it's a bean, right?
No.
What?
It's the seed of a cherry.
A cherry?
A cherry. So when people say, when I first did the coffee episode, couple years ago with Tyler Martin, I learned that as well, and I had similar reaction.
Oh, I guess I have seen it because it kind of comes out like it's got a coating around it,
Yeah,
right?
two seeds to every cherry, and you're
Okay.
right, and it's got like a pulp around it.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there's two methods to kind of cleaning or processing the bean. One is natural, where you just kind of put the beans out and you let the sun on like a tarp,
Yeah.
and they've got the pulp that you've pulled them out, and you just let them dry.
Okay.
It's going to kind of cook it off, and nature's just going to,
Okay.
make the
Do
bean
its thing.
do its thing.
Yeah.
The other one is you take it to a washing station where you take it to people with all the pulp and stuff there, and they wash and clean and get the beans ready to be bagged and shipped out.
What about
So,
the stuff that the monkeys eat and crap out?
I've never had that.
That's a thing, right?
I don't. You hit me for a winger there, buddy. I'm not
Dude,
sure
I'm
what
pretty
you.
sure that's a thing.
Really?
Yeah, and there's like a specific coffee that you get from like that
Monkey turds?
Yeah,
No.
I'm telling you, dude. Look this up.
Monkey turd coffee.
Yeah, monkey turd coffee.
Okay.
Yeah. Give it a look.
I'll take your word on it.
Okay.
I will say that, some people might go, well, what's process is better? Is it the washed or is it the natural? There's, again, kind of like, the grinders. I don't think one's better than the other. Both can be really good. You can get something you may not like from either style as well. So they're both fine. But knowing how that bean was handled before it got into the bag
Yeah.
and stuff, it can give you some, I think, bigger coffee nerds than me would say, I know if it's natural, I'm going to get, maybe this, or this. And if it's washed, you're taking away this, but I'm going to get more of it. I'm sure there's something to it. I'm not to the level yet where I could tell you, but
Gotcha.
both are quality, can be quality.
So are there just, like when you're talking about coffee nerds, I mean, is there like the purest form that like people just don't deviate from that? Like all I drink is pour overs or like something like that. People aren't too particular about stuff.
I don't think so. I think most coffee nerds, much like me in the back here, I've got like 9 or 10 different brewers.
Okay.
And we're going to do that in a minute. We're going to brew a coffee and see what we think. Why don't we take a break and do that right now?
Okay, sounds good.
We're going to come back with the same coffee in a different brewer and see if you think it has a different profile to it.
All right, sounds good.
We'll be right back.
Fresh pot of coffee in front of us now.
Yeah, so we can finish up what we have in the glass, which was a pour over. This was a coffee we made, same coffee, same water temperature, same grind, and that's where it's kind of, may not be what you would typically do. I'm doing it just for the experiment of it because an immersion I keep saying blender, Carter.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
An immersion brewer, you may go a little coarser on that than you would on a V60, which would be a little finer, but you can play with that and tweak with that.
Okay.
But just for the purpose of letting you see
Taste difference.
two different brew types, styles, how it can change the coffee. Same coffee, everything else is the same,
Gotcha.
just how we brewed it.
Okay. I love it.
Do we need a dump bucket for this?
I'm going to just dump it
Can you
down
dump
the
it down?
hatch.
Okay, down the hatch. 'Cause I'll pour you some of this.
Oh, wow. Man, I do like that coffee. See, it's got different clarity to it.
Cleaner.
Cleaner look, yes.
So we were talking about, coffees and, types of brewing, how you brew. But what about roast? Do you understand coffee roast levels? Because I thought I knew.
I don't.
I was reversed.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't. Now I know that, like, from what I understand, the higher the roast level, the lower the caffeine.
Not true.
Not true. Okay. So
I thought same thing I thought.
okay. All right.
Same exact thing I thought.
So I'm totally lost then.
So I used to think, same thing with caffeine. I also thought the darker the roast, the better the flavor, right? Which is also not true. It's just a different flavor.
Right. Right.
So now that I told you that this is a seed of a cherry, what I'm about to tell you will probably make more sense. The lighter the roast, the fruitier your coffee should be. The more fruit profile you're going to have in that coffee.
Okay, that makes sense.
The darker the roast, think about a bourbon and you get that level 4 char on the barrel.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, you're doing that to coffee beans now. Now
Okay.
you're cooking the crap out of these coffee beans where you're cooking all the fruit out.
Yep.
And
yep.
all you're going to get is chocolate and cocoa. And so it's just a completely different profile.
Heck, it's just, what do you like that day? What do you want to go for?
I will tell you that typically I typically go a darker roast. If I'm going to do espresso, I'll buy a bag of dark roast and use it there. But typically I'm light to medium, maybe a medium plus on my roast. I like the more fruity kind of profiles. And
Maybe that makes sense, and I didn't even know that I was doing that. But I tend to, even when I go into a coffee shop, I go for lighter roast coffee.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the reason behind that, but I guess that is the reason. I like the fruitier notes better.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, but that doesn't, not.
Yeah.
It's just like anything. I mean, you could go, man, I really like my sweets for breakfast, but occasionally I just want a biscuits
banana.
and gravy.
Oh yeah, yeah, that too.
So
You haven't sipped this one yet.
not yet. I didn't know how hot it was, but I do have pretty good pain tolerance when it comes to heat.
Okay. But yeah, getting back to the beans just real quick, last kind of punch list of things you want to make sure you get.
Totally different.
Isn't that totally different?
I
haven't tried it yet, but I'm assuming.
shockingly different.
Okay. How do you
Whoa.
like them both? Like one better? Different profiles, obviously, but are they both pleasing in a different way?
Yeah.
Okay.
This, I can totally see myself making a cup of coffee in this method, putting it in a thermos, and going to work drinking that coffee. This is less of a, I don't want to say like the other had more like aggressive flavors to it, but it had more like I could definitely taste the bitterness. I could definitely taast, like
You got bitterness on the last one?
a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like I could taste more of the kind of characters of it amped up.
Okay. I get that.
This has a I don't know. This is probably a bad term. A smoother quality to it.
Smooth is appropriate.
Okay. Well, you don't want to say whiskey.
And when you say smooth, I'm guessing I'm going to interpret that to mean all the things are working well together. It's integrated very well.
They're more married.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Actually, I like this.
Like this one better?
I could drink this one more every day.
Okay. And you're going to, like everything else, wine, whiskey, your palate changes.
This is incredible, actually. I think this tastes great.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really
different.
nice,
Still freaking hot for me. I'm impressed that you can drink it that hot, but.
Oh yeah, dog. I'm all about this hot coffee.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm gonna have to give it a second.
Is that a thing though?
Well, no. Think about it like this. It's a great question, because the hotter something is or the colder something is, just like in wine, right? You make a wine too cold, it hides the flavor of the wine. You make it too hot, it enhances the alcohol, and you lose the structure of the wine. Same in coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee too freaking hot is not good.
To me, it's not too hot though. Like
it burns my mouth hot right now. And to you, it's not doing that.
No, not at all.
Okay. Yeah, you and Sandra, Leos, I guess.
Born from fire.
Yeah. And Tyler Martin, I know I keep referencing him, but he was a great guy in helping me kind of get into this. But he kind of educated me on where coffee should be drunk, and it's a little bit past warm. Not hot, but just past warm is where he thought the sweet spot was, and he'll drink it at room temperature. And I've gotten to the point where I'll drink it at room temperature.
I'll drink coffee at room temperature.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. But I do want it to have a little bit of warmth.
Me too. Me too. I'm just saying. I used to be where if a coffee I had in a cup, I sat around, got busy, whatever, distracted, didn't drink it, and it got to that room temperature, I'd be like, well, I better dump this, make another one.
Yeah.
But now I'm just like, doesn't bother me. I'm just going to drink it.
No.
So.
Well, I mean, I drink a lot of, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I drink cold brew coffee. I will drink a good amount of that, which is obviously cold.
And you're going to find you're going to make better cold brew coffee with this
method.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would assume so.
The difference there is the science again, because, ice is going to be part of the water that you need to account for that's going to because water to coffee, the ratio, we haven't talked about that. So
Yeah.
have you heard at all about the ratios of coffee?
Please enlighten me
Okay.
because I don't know what's right.
There's these kind of standard rules of, coffee guys will tell you and gals will tell you no scoop. It's not like 2 scoops.
Yeah.
It's actual measurements of, depending on how you like your profile.
Yeah.
But 1 to 14, 1 to 15, 1 to 16, or 1 to 17. So
Okay.
1 gram of coffee to 14 grams of water, 1 to 15 grams of water, 1 to 16, and 1 to
Gotcha.
17. I live in the 1 to 15 area.
Okay.
That's just kind of a place I've played around with and landed and go. I really like, for the most part, all the coffees I have at that ratio. I like them.
Okay.
So you can play with it from there. So like there's days I'm making, instead of 20 grams at 300, I'm doing 23 grams at 345. Okay. So it's always this constant, and it's like, well, crap, instead of having 2 cups at that ratio, I'm just going to do 40 grams at 600 in a big Tervis cup, and out the door I go,
I feel like you there's a lot of room for messing around.
There is. And there's no you're going to hit that perfect coffee and now you found, it just doesn't happen because you're going to get another bag of beans.
Yeah.
And now you got to start all over again. And find out
Exactly.
Yeah. Which is part of the fun.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. That's cool. Well, I can tell you, I really like this coffee.
Do you?
Oh, a lot. Like this. Now, what I'd be very interested in is trying this coffee done in the the preferred grind size.
Yes.
To see what that's like.
But even at this grind size,
It tastes good.
very good.
I really like it.
Yeah, I'm very impressed. I thought it might come out a little more bitter
No.
because it's a little more fine on the grind, but it's not.
No. Very
It's-
good.
I agree with you on the smooth kind of description of it. It's much smoother. It's almost like I would describe it as, this is a well-dressed businessman. The other guy worked in a mine.
Yeah, that's exactly
How about that?
how
Both hardworking dudes, but one
Yeah.
a little more refined.
One's a little bit more refined. This is a more refined way of drinking that coffee.
Yeah.
At least, no, and that may not be the case with every bag of coffee, I
No.
mean, but-
Hey, look, there's been bags I bought and I went, that's espresso coffee. Because it's milk coffee.
Yeah.
It's going to get hidden a little bit by the milk once you put that in. So if I buy a bag and I'm not happy with it, then it goes to my espresso kind of.
Yeah, and why not?
Why not?
When you add milk, who cares, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
It changes.
Not that it's bad, adding milk, but
Yeah. But for those listening, if you don't know, if you're going to get into coffee, do not buy coffee at a grocery store. Don't buy whole beans at a grocery store, because you heard me say get whole beans. And you're starting to see some grocery stores carry whole bean coffee.
yeah, like you said, you got that from HEB.
Well, that's coffee shop in the grocery
yeah,
store.
understood. Yeah.
But on the shelf, the coffee aisle,
Right.
now you start to see whole bean coffee because
Yeah.
it's a thing. Coffee's gotten kind of big.
yeah,
The problem is we talked about roast date, and that's where it gets back to that. You probably won't find one on that bag of coffee. And if you think about how distribution works, it comes from wherever it came from. It got somewhere to a warehouse. It sat there for a while. It got sold off.
Yeah.
It went to their warehouse. It sat there that coffee could be a year old before it even hits the shelf. And how long has it been sitting on the shelf?
yeah. Who knows? Yeah, how many turns is that grocery store getting over there?
And like anything, I always use the Papa John's method.
Okay.
Papa John's,
Yeah.
better
Better coffee, better people. I don't know. What did they say?
better ingredients, better pizza.
Okay.
So better ingredients, better coffee. So that's the reason you want to get that freshly roasted.
When I think Papa John's, I just think of the garlic butter.
Oh, okay.
All
right, fair enough.
dipping the crust in the garlic butter.
Yeah, that works too. But no, I think it's true. You and I are big into food.
Yeah.
We're big into wines, and we know that, if it's quality fruit, it's a better wine. If it's quality food or ingredients, it's a better dish.
Yeah.
It applies to, I think everything. It's same with coffee.
Yeah.
Better beans, going to be a better grinder, going to be a better result. All that kind of stuff.
There's got to be a nice happy, to me, it's like, okay, I'll use the whiskey you can go with whiskey, sky's the limit on what you want to spend on whiskey, But there's got to be a nice middle. There's got to be a nice rare breed in the coffee world. Like, hey, like where's the, this is the night. I mean, the immersion brewer that you showed me, that didn't seem very expensive.
Well, I will tell you, you heard me say the V60 plastic I get on Amazon, $10.
Okay.
$12 maybe, but when I bought it, $10. And it's a great brewer. This, it's about $30, $30 to $35.
Okay, $30's not bad.
It's still not bad.
But
for somebody, where you're at in life, where you have a little one at home now, and you're multitasking every morning trying to get to work and up and going, and you still want that quality cup of coffee, I mean, an immersion brewer is, to me, the way to go. Because like I said, you fill it up to the dose you want, the water, let it sit for 5-10 minutes, go do your stuff, get ready, set that right on top of your thermos or your Yeti or whatever. Takes it 2 minutes. While it's draining, you're still going to do whatever you're doing. Lid on and out the door you go.
It seems like something I could do in the morning,
easily,
and get out the door.
Yeah, and that's where I would say a machine grinder for you to start is probably the way to go, just from a time kind of efficiency kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then if you travel, you just take one of my hand grinders.
Well,
I've got a couple of them.
Honestly, like, I mean, you think about like a scale. I've got a scale, but like, what does scales cost?
I mean, I've got 6 of them. If you need one, I got an extra one for you. I can send you home with one today.
I'm sure you could Amazon Prime one to people out there and get it the same night, if you wanted.
Yeah, you can get a decent scale for $12 to $15, and a good scale for $30.
Okay.
So, all in, $200, you're all in for a great coffee setup. And that's kettle, because a kettle is going to cost you $50 to $60. A gooseneck, decent kettle that holds the temperature of the water so that you can continue to pour. You can go, again, like anything, you can go above that.
Yeah.
You can spend a lot more money if you want to.
I'm sure you can spend as much as you want.
You can spend as much as you want.
But there are always avenues for that. But no, that sounds pretty good. It sounds like a good place to start, at least for me.
I think it's a great place to start, and I just know what's going to happen. The curiosity is going to get you and go, okay, what else can I do with this?
Well, I go to there, particularly in the neighborhood I live in. I mean, there's roasters.
Oh yeah,
all over the place. So it would be kind of cool. And I know that there's a place that you and another friend of ours, Chris, get coffee from.
Oh yeah, District Roasters. Yeah, Alex owns that. Yep, he's a great guy, and he's cool because once you get to know him, there's coffee that he gets in a very small amount.
Yeah.
That he doesn't put on his shop, on the website.
Yeah.
And so if you know him, he'll be like, "Hey, got a small bag in. You want some?"
Oh, cool.
And guess what the answer always is?
Yes, I do. Yeah. So he delivers then,
Well, here's the beauty about him. Obviously I'm in Katy, you're in Houston. He's in Spring.
Okay.
This is the metro area of Houston. It cost me $5, more than that, to drive out there and fuel and time and all that.
Yeah.
I can buy coffee on Monday and have it to me on Tuesday because he'll roast it that day and ship it, and then I get it the next day for $5.
Oh wow, that's
$5 shipping.
Yeah, that's cheaper than getting groceries delivered.
That's what I mean. You can't beat it. You can't beat it.
That's good.
So deliver, yes, absolutely does. The other roaster in town that we like a lot is Purify. Does a really good job. But we've got so many of them. I mean, you just mentioned what we're drinking now.
Yeah,
I know they're over on, I think, East 34th.
Yep.
Or somewhere over there.
Yep.
But, there's all kinds of roasters. And it's fun to try them. It's fun, too? When you travel. Like, when you go up into Louisiana or Oklahoma or somewhere, and you're like, I'm going to look for a coffee shop and buy a couple bags. What are they roasting up here?
Yeah, what do they have?
Yeah, and how are they roasting? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Maybe you get a Costa Rica from them and a Costa Rica from District, and you go, I'm going to do a Saturday brew off, and let's just brew these two exactly the same way.
And give it a go. Yeah, I like that.
It makes it kind of fun.
Yeah, no doubt, man, no doubt.
Yeah. So what else you got for coffee? Any other questions?
I mean, you
I'm
got given me a lot of information to start. Maybe we should have a follow up after I've gotten into.
Let's give you a couple months, and then we'll get back on. I think that's a very good idea. A follow up episode and see where is Carter in coffee.
Yeah, because I think once I start getting into it, I'm going to have a lot more questions about things.
Not only that, I think you may come see me more on Saturday mornings where we can hang around and brew some coffee.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I have a feeling I'm going to be like, man, I got this. I got this the other day. You got to get some, type of thing. This
Chris Francis will want to come out too and join for those.
I know. I saw him a couple days ago, and he's like, "Oh, you're doing an episode on coffee? I wish I could join that." I was like, "Well, I'm sure in the future you will be." So this is just me dipping my toe into it.
Yeah, getting your lips wet. You're wetting the whistle.
Yeah, indeed.
I will say, coffee is a lot of fun. And it's fun to share. We think about whiskey and things like that you want to share with people. This to me is another one when you have family come over.
Yeah.
But you know how we're wine snobs? You're only going to open up a certain quality bottle for certain people who will enjoy it. Yeah. We don't mind sharing. We just want to know that you're going to think about it and enjoy it a little bit.
Sure.
Coffee's the same way.
Is it really?
Oh, yeah, because, you get a coffee set up and family will come to town and they're like, "You're going to make me good coffee? Well, what are you drinking now? Or how do you want to drink it?" "Well, I want, hazelnut, creamer, but you make me a cup and then we'll have it." And it's like, oh my gosh, no, I'm not making that coffee for you.
Exactly.
4 ounces of hazelnut creamer and 2 ounces of coffee.
Yeah,
not a good ratio.
Folgers, right?
Yeah,
it's probably not going to matter.
That's right.
It just has the essence of coffee in it.
So you'll find that you're going to become a little bit of a coffee snob.
Okay. Well, that's all right.
We're kind of snobs in a lot of categories. Not in a negative kind of way. It's just...
Well, I mean, the stuff that people who aren't necessarily going to enjoy the nuance of it. You give them a quality product, but not necessarily the best thing that you got. And then the people who do appreciate the nuances of things, that's when you get real geeky and open up all the wild stuff.
Yep. So we didn't get into all of the, technical stuff and how to actually make coffee. We may do a quick video on Carter making a cup of coffee. You never know. That might be on the YouTube
that
channel.
Might be fun, yeah.
But this was kind of an overview of just kind of the biggest thing was what you need, understanding grinders, brewers.
Yep.
Understanding coffee, where to buy it, how to grind it, all that kind of stuff. So fun conversation.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Yeah.
Loved it. Can't wait to get that follow-up in.
I can't wait to see you post a picture that you have a clever, a scale, and a grinder at home.
No doubt.
Yeah.
Coming
soon.
Yeah, coming soon, and a gooseneck kettle.
And a gooseneck kettle. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching this episode. We'll see you on the next one.
See ya.